lot of people have listened to the work, and so yeah, I often meet people that the work means something to. Funnily enough, the shows I'm doing now...
Picture this. Roger Waters sits alone in his London townhouse, rain clawing at the windows. One weak lamp glows in the corner, throwing long shadows over shelves full of records and old ghosts. His bass leans beside him, silent, like a voice that once roared and now only breathes. He feels it again, that mix of pride and jealousy. Pink Floyd shook the world, changed music, rewrote what sound could be. But on this stormy night, with no audience and no noise, he finally admits to himself a truth he's always hated to say out loud. There were a few bands that, in his heart, soared even higher. The first that comes to his restless mind is The Who. But tonight, the memory doesn't come softly. It crashes into him like a cymbal hit from Moon himself. Because with The Who it was never just admiration. It was rivalry. It was jealousy sharpened to a blade. It was the bitter knowledge that they could be reckless, wild, destructive, and still adored for it. He remembers the way Townshend would leap into the air, smashing his guitar into splinters as if the world owed him its applause. And it hurt Roger to admit it, but part of him wished he could do the same, burn it all down, let chaos pour out of him without consequence. Instead, he built immaculate concepts, perfect architecture of sound, only to watch critics call The Who the raw truth. Every time Roger saw them live, he felt something hot and poisonous coil in his chest. Not hate, not even bitterness, but envy. Envy of their freedom. Envy of their madness. Envy of the way the world forgave them for breaking, while he was expected to stay whole. Pink Floyd crafted universes. The Who shattered reality. And some nights, when Roger stared at the ceiling of another hotel room, he wondered which version the world needed more, and which version he wished he could have been. Not because they were gentle giants, far from it. The Who were chaos dressed in amplifiers, a band that lived on the edge of implosion. Roger remembers the first time he saw them live, Pete Townshend slashing at his guitar like he was trying to kill every doubt that ever lived inside him, and Keith Moon playing drums like a man whose life depended on outrunning the darkness. Their music wasn't clean or celestial. No, it was violent, raw, unhinged. But that brutality carried truth. Pink Floyd crafted universes. The Who shattered them. And Roger admired that recklessness, that refusal to be tamed. He envied the way they could explode on stage without apology, while he himself carried the weight of perfection, concept, structure. The Who burned brighter than logic, louder than fear, and that made them unforgettable.
Now, 30 years later, I see barriers between us and the truth of the reality of our lives that need to be taken down.
As the thunder softens and the storm shifts, Waters' thoughts move toward a different kind of seismic force, one built not on chaos, but on rebellion, the Rolling Stones. If the Who were a lightning bolt, the Stones were a wildfire, slow, hungry, unstoppable. Roger remembers sneaking into cramped London clubs, watching Mick Jagger move like temptation itself, while Keith Richards' guitar snarled with a kind of beautiful corruption. Pink Floyd made people think. The Stones made people want. They brought danger into the spotlight, turned sin into art, and never apologized for any of it. Their rivalry with Pink Floyd was silent but sharp, a contrast of worlds. Floyd were the philosophers, the Stones were the sinners. Floyd built soundscapes, the Stones built revolutions. Waters hated their excess, their arrogance, their chaos. But he also craved the freedom they embodied. They showed him that truth in music wasn't always found in precision. Sometimes it lived in the mess. And when that wildfire finally settles into embers in his mind, Roger's thoughts drift toward the band that shaped the very idea of possibility. The Beatles. They were everything Pink Floyd weren't. Bright, where Floyd were brooding. Playful, where Floyd were calculated. Hopeful, where Floyd were cosmic. Roger remembers hearing A Day in the Life for the first time, realizing in one explosive moment that music could be limitless. The Beatles didn't follow the world. They moved it. Their melodies were fearless, their ideas revolutionary. They broke rules with elegance while Floyd broke them with force. Roger envied them, not with bitterness but with awe. Because the Beatles didn't just innovate, they made innovation feel inevitable. They were the band that tore through the world like a lightning bolt. The first time Roger saw them live, he felt the shock in his bones. Pete Townshend smashed his guitar with the fury of a man fighting God, while Keith Moon played drums like he was outrunning death. Their music wasn't polished, it was raw electricity, a scream, a confession, a riot. Roger loved their imperfection, their madness, their bravery. Pink Floyd's sculpted sound like architecture, but The Who set theirs on fire. They didn't want to control their music, they wanted to survive it. Roger always envied that freedom. Pink Floyd's brilliance came with weight, with expectation, with responsibility. But The Who's brilliance exploded like fireworks, brief, blinding, and unforgettable. The storm outside slows to a drizzle, but inside Roger the storm only grows darker, sharper, more unforgiving. His breaths come heavier now, as if each inhale carries the ghosts of every rivalry he spent a lifetime pretending he didn't care about. He rises, slowly, stiffly, and walks to his old stereo system. The wood is chipped, the knobs loose, the surface worn by decades of hands that trembled with brilliance and bitterness. He pulls out a cracked vinyl of Abbey Road, holding it the way someone holds the truth they spent years running from. When he places the needle down, the room fills with sound so warm and familiar it almost hurts. But comfort never comes without a knife. Because the moment the first notes bloom in the air, Roger feels it, that sting of admiration sharpened by envy. The Beatles' innovation cuts through him like light slicing a void. How effortlessly they rewrote the rules he had to break with blood. How naturally they created worlds he spent years architecting with surgical precision. Their brightness exposes him, makes him feel every flaw he fought to hide. The Stones' fire burns at the edges of his pride, their wildness, their instinct, their chaos. It all reminds him of the freedom he never allowed himself. They lived like volcanoes, erupting without warning, while he built empires only to watch them collapse under the weight of genius and ego. They made rebellion look seductive. He made it look tragic. And The Who? Their chaos echoes in him like a wound reopening. Their unpredictability, their rage, their refusal to control the fire, they were everything he wasn't allowed to be. They shattered stages with abandon, while he shattered himself trying to hold Pink Floyd together. Their brilliance was madness, his was responsibility. That contrast still aches. These bands didn't just shape him, they haunted him. They stalked his ambition, whispered in his failures, towered over him even in triumph. They were the shadows always stretching farther than his reach. No matter how high Pink Floyd soared, he always felt their breath on the back of his neck. Pink Floyd reached galaxies no one else dared explore. Yes, but galaxies are cold, lonely, silent. These three bands taught him something more brutal than space: humility. They taught him how to build the rocket and reminded him he wasn't the first one to fly. The rain stops. The world falls silent. Roger stands by the window, hands tucked in his pockets, the glow of streetlights painting him in gold. The room behind him fades into darkness, leaving only his silhouette framed against the soft, trembling halo of London's night. For a moment, he looks older than time itself, older than every song he ever wrote, every memory he ever tried to outrun. He whispers to the quiet, "They weren't just better. They were necessary." The words fall from his lips like a confession he's kept locked away for half a lifetime. They drift into the still air and hang there, heavy with truth and surrender. The record spins on, crackling softly, a fragile heartbeat echoing through the dim room. Each pop of the vinyl feels like another memory returning. The first time he heard Lennon's voice split open the universe, the first time Jagger made rebellion sound holy, the first time Townshend smashed his guitar like he was shattering fate itself. Roger closes his eyes, not in defeat, but in gratitude. Gratitude for the giants who walked before him, tearing down the walls he would one day push even further. Gratitude for the legends who lit the path with brilliance and madness. Gratitude for the bands who dared to go where even he once feared to tread. He exhales shakily, almost smiling. For all the wars inside Pink Floyd, for all the fractures and fights and wounds he never fully healed, it is here, in this quiet room, that Roger understands something he once refused to admit. Greatness isn't a throne, it's a torch passed from hand to hand in the dark. Tonight, in the stillness of his London home, he finally lets himself say what he has always known but never spoke aloud. Pink Floyd changed the world, but these three bands changed him. And for the first time in years, Roger Waters feels peace, strange, gentle, and real, settle over him like the final note of a song that has taken a lifetime to finish.